7. Friday afternoon in downtown Los Angeles. The kind of storm that transforms streets into rivers and reminds everyone this desert city was never meant to hold so much water. Sheets of gray pounded against concrete, against glass, against the dented metal roof of a food truck parked on the corner of 5th and Spring Street. Inside that truck, Emiliano Cortez was counting the day's earnings. $237 sat in the register. Not enough. Never enough. The bank wanted $4,200 by the end of the month, or they would repossess his truck. His livelihood. The only thing standing between his 2 children and complete homelessness. Eli was 40 years old. Gray had begun touching his temples over the past difficult year. Calluses covered his hands from years of kitchen work. A worn photograph was taped to the dashboard, showing 2 children smiling in bright California sunshine. Sophia, 11 years old with her mother's dark hair. Miguel, 7 years old with his father's stubborn chin. They were everything Eli had left in this unforgiving world. He closed the register drawer and began the familiar routine of shutting down the grill for the day. The lunch rush was finished. No dinner rush would materialize in weather like this. Time to pick up the kids from his sister's cramped apartment and head home to their own 2-bedroom place in East Los Angeles, where the heating worked on good days and the neighbors screamed at each other through paper-thin walls every single night. That was when he heard the scream. A woman's voice, high and sharp and terrified, cutting through the relentless hammer of rain like a blade. Eli looked through the serving window and watched the scene unfold in horrible slow motion. A figure in an expensive gray coat was being dragged backward by another figure, darker and faster. A leather purse strap pulled tight across her body like a restraint. The woman fell backward, her designer heels sliding hopelessly on the wet pavement, her body twisting toward the open street. Toward the massive delivery truck barreling through the intersection at 40 miles per hour, its driver blinded by the torrential downpour. The truck driver could not possibly see her through the wall of rain. The woman could not regain her footing in time to escape. Nobody on the crowded sidewalk was moving to help. They just stood frozen with their umbrellas and their phones and their shocked expressions while a human life hung in the balance of seconds. Eli did not stop to think about consequences. He threw open the back door of his food truck and ran harder than he had run in 20 years. His worn sneakers slipped dangerously on the wet ground, but he kept pumping his legs forward. The delivery truck was 20 feet from the fallen woman, then 15 feet, then 10. He could see her face clearly now, pale and contorted with absolute terror, her mouth open in a scream that the rain swallowed whole. He hit her body at full desperate speed, wrapping his arms around her torso and throwing them both violently sideways. They rolled together across the wet asphalt, grimy water and street debris spraying in all directions around them. For one perfect crystalline moment suspended in time, Eli believed they had made it clean and clear. Then the delivery truck's side mirror caught his extended right leg with devastating force. The sound of human bone breaking is unmistakable to anyone who has heard it. A wet snap, like a heavy branch torn from a living tree during a violent storm. Eli felt the impact before his brain registered the sound. A white-hot supernova of pain exploding through his entire body and stealing every molecule of breath from his lungs. He landed hard on his back in a filthy puddle, staring up at the churning gray sky while rain fell directly into his unblinking eyes. The woman was beside him on the ground, alive, completely unhurt. Her expensive designer coat was utterly ruined, her carefully styled hair plastered flat against her pale face, but she was breathing steadily. She was whole and unbroken. She leaned over him, using her body to block the endless rain from his face. Her features came slowly into focus through the thickening haze of shock and agony. High, aristocratic cheekbones, dark, intelligent eyes, a face he had definitely seen somewhere before, many times over. On billboards towering over Sunset Boulevard, on glossy magazine covers at every grocery store checkout line, on the evening news broadcasts, always accompanied by ominous words like scandal and criminal investigation and murder accusation. Vivian Ashford, CEO and majority shareholder of Ashford Media Group, the largest media conglomerate on the entire West Coast. Owner of 3 major television networks and 12 influential news websites. A completely self-made billionaire who had clawed and fought her way up from nothing through sheer brilliance and determination. The single most powerful woman in all of Los Angeles. And according to every supermarket tabloid in America, a cold-blooded murderer who had driven her young assistant to suicide. The pain was pulling Eli under now like a powerful riptide, darkness creeping steadily inward from the edges of his vision. The last image he registered before losing consciousness completely was the look swimming in her dark eyes. Not the cold, calculating, predatory stare that newspapers love to describe in their sensational articles. Something else entirely, something unexpected and deeply human. Gratitude that seemed to pour from her very soul, and underneath that gratitude, a profound loneliness so deep and vast, it made his chest ache with recognition. Or perhaps that was simply the shattered bones screaming their protest through his nervous system. 3 days before the accident, the world had been considerably simpler. Eli's phone alarm sounded at exactly 4 in the morning, same as every other day. He allowed himself to lie motionless in the darkness for precisely 30 seconds, that small daily luxury of warmth and stillness, before swinging his tired legs over the mattress edge and beginning the exhausting routine that had defined his existence for the past 4 years. Quick shower, careful shave, start the coffee brewing, check on the children before they needed to wake. Sophia's small bedroom first. His daughter was already wide awake despite the early hour, sitting upright in her narrow bed with a thick library book open across her lap. 11 years old, and she devoured books like a graduate student preparing for doctoral exams. She had inherited her mother's lustrous dark hair and her father's stubborn, determined chin, and carried a weight of serious worry in her young eyes that shattered his heart into pieces every single time he looked at her face. She was never supposed to carry such heavy burdens. 11-year-old girls were supposed to obsess over friendship bracelets and pop music stars and whether the cute boy in math class had noticed them during lunch period. They were absolutely not supposed to lie awake at 4 in the morning, worrying whether their father remembered to take his prescribed medication. Sophia glanced up when he gently pushed open her bedroom door. She did not offer a cheerful good morning greeting. Instead, she asked a very different question, her voice tight with concern. "Dad, did you remember to take your back pills last night?" He had not taken them. His lower back had been screaming constant protest at him for several weeks now, the accumulated price of standing hunched over a hot commercial grill for 12 hours every single day. But the prescription medication cost $40 per bottle, and $40 represented groceries for nearly an entire week. Difficult choices had to be made daily. Eli always chose his children's needs over his own. He smiled at her reassuringly, told her yes, he had taken the pills, watched her intelligent eyes narrow slightly with suspicion because she recognized his lie instantly, but loved him far too much to openly challenge him about it. Miguel's bedroom told a completely different story. His 7-year-old son slept exactly like he approached everything else in his young life, completely and utterly and without any reservation whatsoever. The boy lay sprawled diagonally across his small mattress, with his beloved stuffed dinosaur clutched protectively against his thin chest. His mouth hung open while he dreamed whatever beautiful, innocent dreams 7-year-old boys dream before the harsh world teaches them to be afraid of hoping. Eli stood motionless in the doorway and simply watched his son breathe in and out peacefully. This moment represented his absolute favorite part of every exhausting day. The profound quiet before the chaos descended. The precious peace before the daily struggle resumed. The gentle reminder of exactly why every sacrifice mattered so much. He prepared breakfast with practiced efficiency. Pancakes carefully shaped like various zoo animals, because Miguel absolutely loved them, because his younger child's pure joy was beautifully simple and asked for so very little in return. Scrambled eggs and buttered toast for Sophia, because she had recently decided she was now officially too old and mature for childish-shaped pancakes, though Eli occasionally caught her fighting back a delighted smile whenever Miguel excitedly showed off whatever elephant or giraffe or exotic creature their father had attempted that particular morning. They ate together at the small scratched kitchen table with its perpetually wobbly leg that Eli kept meaning to repair, but never found time to fix. Miguel chattered happily about his best friend Carlos and the absolutely enormous beetle they had discovered together hiding under the playground equipment yesterday afternoon. Sophia helped her younger brother cut his pancakes into proper bite-sized pieces and reminded him repeatedly to please use his napkin, and performed all the countless small tasks a mother would normally handle if they still had a mother who actually wanted to be present in their lives. Renata had abandoned them 4 years ago without any warning. She packed a single suitcase in the middle of the night while her children slept peacefully in their rooms, left a brief handwritten note on the kitchen counter, and vanished permanently with her co-worker from the downtown marketing firm where she worked. The note contained only 5 carefully written words that still burned in his memory. I deserve to be happy, as if genuine happiness was some distant destination she could reach only by abandoning her own family. As if the 2 innocent children sleeping in the next room were merely obstacles blocking her path to joy, rather than the entire reason joy existed at all. As if love operated like a finite resource that had simply been depleted beyond recovery. Eli had not heard a single word from Renata since that terrible night. No phone calls on birthdays, no cards or gifts at Christmas, no explanation offered, no apology extended, absolutely nothing. She had simply and completely erased their entire family from her new life and started fresh somewhere far away, a new chapter where they simply did not exist. He no longer hated her for leaving. He had tried desperately to hate her during those first terrible months when Sophia stopped eating entirely and lost 15 pounds, and Miguel sobbed himself to sleep every night, asking when mommy was finally coming home. But hatred demanded energy that Eli simply could not afford to spend. Resentment required attention he could not spare from his children. Now he felt nothing at all when Renata's name surfaced in his thoughts. Just a dull, empty absence, like the aching space where a pulled tooth used to live. After breakfast concluded, Eli drove the kids to their respective schools. Sophia first dropped at the local middle school where she was enrolled in advanced placement mathematics and struggling mightily to make any real friends because she was far too intelligent and far too serious and far too burdened with adult worries for children her own age to understand or relate to. Then Miguel delivered to the nearby elementary school where his cheerful teacher said he was an absolute joy and a complete delight, and would Eli please come in soon for a parent conference about Miguel's troubling tendency to share extremely detailed personal information about their difficult home life with anyone who would listen. Then finally the food truck, the endless, exhausting, beautiful, meaningful work of feeding hungry strangers who gradually became familiar regulars, who eventually became something almost resembling genuine friends. Eli had not always been a struggling food truck operator. Once upon a time, in what now felt like an entirely different lifetime, he had worked as a sous chef at one of the most celebrated restaurants in New York City. Le Bernardin, Michelin stars gleaming on the wall, and celebrity clientele filling the dining room, and the kind of relentless pressure that transformed ambitious young cooks into either brilliant diamonds or worthless dust. He had loved every single minute of that intense, demanding work, the surgical precision required, the creative artistry celebrated, the miraculous way a truly perfect plate could make a complete stranger close their eyes in bliss and suddenly remember their grandmother's warm kitchen, their innocent childhood, their happiest moments made tangible and present through the simple, transcendent power of flavor. But then Renata walked out without warning, and Sophia stopped eating for 2 terrifying weeks straight, and Miguel started experiencing nightmares so violent and disturbing that he woke up screaming in absolute terror every single night. Eli realized with sudden painful clarity that his traumatized children desperately needed a present father far more than the competitive culinary world needed yet another talented fine dining chef. So he resigned from his prestigious position, sold everything he owned that did not fit into his aging car, drove across the country to Los Angeles where his younger sister Lucia lived and could provide emergency childcare assistance, used the last of his depleted savings to purchase a used food truck with over 200,000 miles on the engine, and started serving authentic tacos and handmade burritos and fresh-pressed tortillas to hungry construction workers and underpaid office temps and anyone else who needed a genuinely good meal at an honestly fair price. Remarkably, against all reasonable expectations, he was happy. That was the strange and wonderful thing that still surprised him on difficult days. Despite the crushing debt and the bone-deep exhaustion and the constant gnawing anxiety about how to make next month's rent payment, Eli felt genuinely happy with his reduced circumstances because he was fully present in his children's lives. Every single morning for breakfast together, every single night for dinner as a family, every scraped knee that needed bandaging, and every bad dream that required comfort, and every spelling test that deserved celebration, and every science project that demanded assistance. He was there, completely and totally present. That daily presence was worth more than any Michelin star ever could be. On the small radio mounted in his truck, between songs from decades past, the hourly news broadcast played the same exhaustively covered story it had been repeating for weeks. The Ashford scandal continues dominating national headlines. Vivian Ashford, controversial CEO of Ashford Media Group, faces explosive new accusations from her wealthy ex-husband, Harrison Caldwell III. Caldwell claims to possess damning evidence that Ashford directly caused the death of her personal assistant, Rachel Townsend, 3 years ago through systematic workplace bullying and deliberate emotional harassment. Ashford continues to categorically deny all allegations. The bitter custody battle over their 9-year-old daughter, Cressida, is scheduled to resume next month in Los Angeles family court. Eli listened to the report without much personal interest. Rich, powerful people and their dramatic problems. A world so impossibly distant from his own daily reality, it might as well be fiction playing out on a movie screen. What possible relevance did billionaire scandals have to making rent and keeping hungry children properly fed? At the serving window of his truck, 2 women customers chatted loudly while waiting for their lunch order, their voices carrying easily through the humid air. Those powerful career women are all exactly the same, cold and ruthless and completely heartless. I heard she actually physically hits her own daughter. Can you even imagine being that cruel? Money obviously cannot buy you a soul. That horrible woman is living proof of that. Eli handed over their food orders and said absolutely nothing in response. He had learned many years ago that people invariably believed whatever they wanted to believe, regardless of facts. Evidence did not matter to most people. Context did not matter either. Nuance was always the first casualty when public opinion formed. The story was perpetually simpler and more dramatic than the complicated truth. He wondered briefly what Vivian Ashford was actually like underneath all those screaming sensational headlines. Whether the newspapers had captured any genuine piece of reality. Whether anyone ever truly knew another human being at all. Then the lunch rush arrived in full chaotic force, and he stopped wondering about anything except how to keep the orders flowing and his struggling truck running for one more desperate day. The hospital room was painted institutional white and felt numbingly cold and smelled like harsh antiseptic chemicals mixed with quiet human despair. Eli woke slowly through thick layers of pharmaceutical fog, his confused mind swimming gradually upward toward consciousness. His right leg was elevated on a complex system of pulleys and supports, completely encased in heavy white plaster and a frightening external metal frame that resembled medieval torture equipment. Various machines beeped their steady rhythms nearby like mechanical heartbeats. An IV line snaked into a vein in his arm, dripping something powerful that made the screaming pain feel distant and dreamlike, and not quite connected to his actual body. Sophia and Miguel were already there waiting for him. His daughter sat rigidly in the hard plastic visitor chair beside his hospital bed, gripping his limp hand tightly with both of her smaller hands, her young face pale and tight with the kind of adult worry that no 11-year-old child should ever have to know or carry. His son stood silently at the rain-streaked window, looking small and frightened against the gray afternoon light, clutching his beloved stuffed dinosaur against his chest like protective armor. "Dad," Miguel's voice cracked painfully on the single syllable. "You have to be okay. You have to promise me you will be okay." Eli tried his best to smile reassuringly at his terrified children, tried to find the right words that would make this frightening situation somehow better or at least less terrifying. Before he could gather enough breath to speak, Sophia cut in with the brutal practicality she had been forced to learn far too young. "The doctor came while you were still unconscious. She said your right leg is broken in 2 separate places. She said you need surgery to fix it properly and help it heal correctly, but..." Her strained voice faltered and failed. She looked down at her hands wrapped around his. "Dad, the surgery costs $47,000. The number hung suspended in the antiseptic hospital air like an executioner's blade waiting to fall." $47,000. Eli did not have $4,700 sitting in his checking account. He did not even have $400 available. By the end of this month, he would lose his food truck to the bank. By the end of next month, he would lose their apartment to the landlord. 3 months from now, they would have nothing left at all except each other. Before he could formulate any response, the hospital room door swung open. Vivian Ashford stood framed in the doorway like a ghost from another world. She still wore the ruined gray designer coat from the accident, the expensive fabric torn and stained with street grime. Her normally perfect hair hung tangled and still damp around her shoulders. Her careful makeup was smeared into dark, exhausted shadows beneath her bloodshot eyes. Without professional styling and flattering studio lighting, this powerful CEO looked nothing like the polished predator the magazine covers always portrayed. She looked completely and vulnerably human, bone-deep exhausted, haunted by something she could not escape no matter how fast she ran. And she was staring at Eli like he was a puzzle she could not solve, a question she had never thought to ask. "You saved my life." Her voice came out rough and raw, scraped clean of all pretense and performance. "You did not know who I was. You did not care what the newspapers say about me. You simply acted without hesitation." She stepped further into the room and paused uncertainly. "Do you have any idea how long it has been since another person looked at me without judgment already fixed in their eyes? 3 years. 3 full years of every single person I encounter having already decided exactly who I am, based entirely on headlines written by reporters who have never once spoken to me directly." She moved closer and pulled a chair beside his bed, sitting down heavily and folding her trembling hands in her lap. "I did not kill anyone." The words emerged flat and exhausted, worn smooth by endless, desperate repetition to people who never believed her anyway. "My assistant, Rachel. She took her own life 3 years ago. It was a genuine tragedy that haunts me every single day. But I did not cause her death. I did not bully her. I did not drive her to make that terrible choice." Her voice hardened with suppressed anger. "My ex-husband did that to her." "Why?" Eli managed to ask through the fog of pain medication. "Because Harrison Caldwell does not lose. Ever. At anything. To anyone. When I finally asked him for a divorce after years of emotional abuse, I committed the one unforgivable sin in his twisted worldview. I rejected him publicly. I chose my own path. So he decided with cold calculation that if he could not own me completely, he would systematically destroy everything I had ever built." She reached into her stained coat pocket and pulled out a small USB drive. It was scratched and dirty from the violent accident, but appeared intact. "This was inside my purse. The purse you saved along with my life. This drive contains security camera footage showing Harrison visiting Rachel at her apartment 2 weeks before she died. Video evidence capturing him threatening her, terrorizing her, telling her in explicit detail exactly what he would do to everyone she loved if she did not keep permanently quiet about certain financial irregularities she had accidentally discovered." She looked at the small drive like it contained her entire future. "This is the only evidence that exists which can prove my innocence. And you saved it without even knowing what it contained." Eli stared at her through the pharmaceutical haze, trying to process everything she had told him. "I want to hire you as my private household chef," Vivian continued. "I will pay all your medical bills in full. I will clear your debts on the food truck completely. Your children can attend the same excellent private school as my daughter Cressida. You will have a guest house to live in on my property with far more space than wherever you currently reside. This is not charity. This is absolutely not charity. I need someone I can trust completely. Someone Harrison cannot buy or threaten or intimidate into betraying me. Someone who sees me as an actual human being rather than a headline or a bank account or an enemy to be destroyed." She glanced meaningfully at Sophia and Miguel. "And your daughter just helped your son cut his pancakes without being asked. She did it automatically without even thinking about it. That small gesture tells me everything I need to know about what kind of father you are and what kind of family you have managed to build despite very difficult circumstances." Eli looked at his 2 children standing there, at Sophia, trying so desperately hard to hold their fractured family together despite being far too young for such heavy responsibilities. At Miguel, who still believed with innocent certainty that his father could fix anything and solve any problem and make everything right again. The math was brutally simple. In 30 days, he would lose the truck. In 60 days, he would lose their apartment. His shattered leg would take 3 full months to heal properly. He could not work. He could not stand at a grill for 12 hours. He could not do anything except watch helplessly while everything slipped away. Or he could take this chance on a woman the entire world had already condemned. "I accept your offer." The words emerged before he fully decided to speak them. "But I have one firm condition, name it. When I am able to work again, I pay you back. Every single cent. I do not accept charity from anyone." For the first time since entering the room, Vivian managed a small, genuine smile. It was tired and fragile and did not quite reach her eyes, but it was real. "Then we have a deal." The guest house was substantially bigger than their entire apartment. Eli maneuvered his wheelchair carefully through the front door, still learning to navigate the world from this unfamiliar lower angle, and stopped completely in the middle of the spacious living room to process what his eyes were showing him. 2 full-size bedrooms with actual closets, a complete modern kitchen with granite countertops and stainless steel appliances, and cabinets that close properly. Large windows looking out on a manicured garden filled with actual blooming flowers, and a crystal-clear swimming pool that sparkled impossibly blue in the warm California sunshine. Miguel pushed past his father before anyone could react and ran inside at full speed, his sneakers squeaking excitedly on the polished hardwood floors. "Dad, there is a real swimming pool. Can we go swimming? Can we go swimming right now?" Sophia followed much more slowly, her intelligent eyes moving carefully across the beautiful space, methodically cataloging the high-quality furniture and the fresh-cut flowers in crystal vases, and the complete total absence of water stains on the ceiling, or cracks in the walls, or any of the small accumulated damages that had always defined their previous living spaces. She turned to face Eli directly. Her expression was carefully neutral, but he could easily read the suspicion hiding underneath. "This is too much, Dad. I know it is. People do not simply give away things like this. There is always a hidden cost. There is always something they want in return." Eli understood her suspicion completely because he shared it fully. 4 years of scraping by on society's margins had taught him that the world did not hand out generous gifts without expectations. Everything always had a price. Everything always came with strings attached. Trust was a luxury only affordable by people who could survive disappointment. But watching Miguel run joyfully from room to room like Christmas, and every birthday had somehow arrived on the same magical morning, Eli made a quiet internal decision. He would do this job honorably and well. He would keep his family safe and stable. He would give his children security they had never known. And if Vivian Ashford eventually revealed herself as the monster the newspapers claimed, he would take his children and leave immediately and somehow figure out another path forward. But until he witnessed that monster with his own eyes, he would extend her the same benefit of the doubt he wished desperately the world would extend to him. It was more than anyone else had bothered to do for her. The first practical challenge was obvious. How does a man with a broken leg cook meals for an entire household? Vivian solved the problem within 48 hours with impressive efficiency. A team of skilled contractors arrived and completely modified the main house kitchen practically overnight. Lower countertops installed at wheelchair height. A secure high stool bolted firmly to the floor beside the commercial stove. A rolling cart system allowing him to transport ingredients without standing. Everything Eli could possibly need positioned carefully within easy arm's reach. He cooked from that adapted wheelchair-accessible kitchen for the first 6 difficult weeks, his heavy casted leg propped on a cushioned support rest, prescription pain medication dulling the constant deep throb in his shattered bones. The process was not elegant or easy. Some nights he felt so utterly exhausted from the physical effort that he could barely wheel himself back across the property to the guest house. But cooking was the only thing he truly knew how to do well. It was his language for expressing things words could never capture. And doing nothing while his family depended on him would have killed him faster than any broken bone ever could. Cressida Ashford was 9 years old and looked like she was carrying the accumulated weight of centuries on her thin shoulders. She stood partially hidden behind her mother on the first day, watching Eli and his children approach with the wary, suspicious eyes of a wounded animal that had learned through painful experience to fear human hands. Her small fingernails were bitten completely down to the quick, some of them raw and bleeding at the ragged edges. Dark, exhausted circles shadowed the delicate skin beneath her haunted eyes. When Miguel ran up excitedly to introduce himself, she flinched sharply backward, like he had raised a hand to strike her. Vivian pulled Eli aside while the children cautiously sized each other up across the invisible barrier of Cressida's fear. Harrison used to yell at her constantly, she explained in a low voice. Terrible, cruel things, that she was stupid, that she was worthless, that everything wrong in our marriage was somehow her fault. She is absolutely terrified of men she does not already know. Give her time, Eli said gently. We will go very slow. No pressure, no expectations, no demands. The first several days were predictably awkward as everyone circled each other carefully. Cressida ate almost nothing at mealtimes. She sat silently at the dinner table and pushed her food around her plate in endless circles, and answered direct questions with single reluctant syllables, and excused herself as quickly as possible to escape to the safety of her room. Sophia tried repeatedly to engage her about books and school, and anything at all, and got absolutely nowhere. Miguel tried to show her his favorite stuffed dinosaur and explain all 57 fascinating facts he knew about Tyrannosaurus Rex, and received the exact same empty result. On the third frustrating night, Cressida had not eaten anything substantial in 2 full days. Vivian pulled Eli aside in the kitchen, her careful composure finally cracking under the weight of maternal terror. She will not eat, her voice trembled audibly. Not from the cook before you, not from expensive restaurants, not from me. The doctors say it is severe anxiety disorder. They want to put her on daily medication, but she is only 9 years old. Eli nodded slowly. Let me try something different. He wheeled himself to the kitchen workstation, did not call Cressida, did not ask what she wanted or announce what he was doing. He simply started cooking, a quesadilla, the simplest thing imaginable. But instead of cutting it into ordinary triangles, he carefully shaped it into a rabbit. Added black olive eyes perfectly positioned, a cherry tomato nose, thin carrot stick whiskers. He placed the creation on a bright, colorful plate and set it on the counter where it could easily be seen from the hallway. Then he returned to washing dishes like nothing special had happened. Miguel wandered into the kitchen first, drawn by some internal food radar. Dad, you made a bunny taco. Can Cressida have this one? She always looks so sad. Go ask her. Minutes later, small hesitant footsteps sounded behind him. Cressida stood uncertainly in the kitchen doorway, the plate clutched in her trembling hands. My dad makes the best food, Miguel announced proudly. He says cooking is how you tell people you love them without using words. Cressida looked down at the rabbit quesadilla, looked up at Eli, who kept his eyes carefully on the dishes, making himself as non-threatening as possible. Looked back at the food. She sat down slowly at the kitchen counter, picked up the quesadilla with careful fingers, took one small cautious bite, then another, then another. She ate the entire thing. When finished, she looked up at Eli with red-rimmed eyes, did not smile, did not speak, but something frozen deep inside her had clearly begun to thaw. Sophia appeared quietly in the doorway. Can I help make more? By the end of that evening, all 4 children were crowded together into the warm kitchen. Sophia was patiently teaching Cressida how to fold tortillas properly. Miguel was arranging olive eyes with intense concentration. Cressida was laughing, actually genuinely laughing. The sound was rusty and strange, like a door that had not been opened in many years. Vivian came home at 9 o'clock, exhausted from another brutal day of lawyers and emergency board meetings and Harrison's relentless attacks. She stopped in the kitchen doorway and went completely still. For a long moment, she simply watched her daughter covered in flour, giggling at something Miguel had said. A tear slid down her cheek. She wiped it away quickly. But Eli saw. Harrison Caldwell III learned about Eli on a Tuesday afternoon. By Wednesday morning, he possessed a complete detailed dossier. Name, age, work history, financial records, the crushing debt. By Thursday evening, he was on the phone with TMZ. The article dropped early Friday morning. Accused killer CEO Vivian Ashford living with strange man and his 2 kids. Eli saw the headline on Sophia's phone at breakfast. Her face had gone white, hands shaking badly. Dad, they are saying terrible things about us online. Do not read comments, Mija. Ever. But none of it is true. Truth does not matter to people like this. They have already decided what they want to believe. Then what do? We keep going forward. We take care of each other. That is what this family does. That evening, Eli found Vivian alone on the back porch. I should leave. I am making everything worse for you. If you leave now, they will assume everything in that article is true. Maybe that is better. You lose one battle but survive to win the war. Harrison does not want to win fairly. He wants complete annihilation. If you leave, he will simply find another weapon. She turned to face him directly in the fading light. When I was married to him, I thought I was lucky. Rich, handsome husband, beautiful home. I did not realize the bars of my gilded cage were still bars. What finally changed? Cressida. She was 7 when I heard her crying alone in her room. She asked why Daddy yells so much, asked if she had done something bad. Vivian's voice cracked. I saw myself in 20 years if I stayed. Broken. So I filed for divorce, and Harrison decided if he could not own me, he would destroy me. Eli was quiet for a moment. My wife left 4 years ago. Left a note saying she deserved happiness, like our children were obstacles. He turned to face her. I spent years thinking I was not enough, but eventually I realized some people cannot see what they have. Their blindness is not about you, it is about them. Before Vivian could respond, a small voice came from the doorway. Dad, please do not go. Cressida stood there in pajamas, clutching her teddy bear. Sophia was behind her, Miguel behind Sophia. Cressida stepped bravely forward. You make bunny quesadillas. You ask how my day was. Nobody ever asks. Her voice trembled. Sophia and Miguel are like a sister and brother. I never had that before. Miguel ran forward and hugged her tightly. Cressida is my sister now, Dad. You cannot take her away. Sophia looked steadily at her father. You always said real family is not people who have to love you. It is people who choose to. We cannot abandon them. That is not who we are. Eli looked at the children holding each other. Okay, we stay. The first custody hearing was a complete disaster. Harrison arrived in a $5,000 suit, his legal team polished and ruthless. Eli sat helplessly in the gallery, watching Harrison paint Vivian as unstable for moving strangers into her home. The judge nodded along. The ruling? Increased visitation for Harrison, 3 days weekly instead of 1. Final hearing in 6 weeks. Outside, Harrison found Vivian. 6 weeks. Then I will have Cressida, and your food truck family will be back where they belong. Nowhere. That same night, Eli packed his bags. Sophia found him. What are you doing? We have to go. I am making things worse. No. Cressida stood in the doorway, tears streaming. Please do not go. Sophia and Miguel are the only real friends I have. She threw her arms desperately around Sophia. I never had a sister before. Miguel joined the tight hug. Eli set down the suitcase slowly. All right, we are not going anywhere. Cressida came back from Harrison's house on Sunday evening looking like a ghost. She walked straight to Sophia's room without speaking to anyone. An hour later, Sophia found Eli. Something bad happened. She keeps saying her dad does not love her. She heard him on the phone saying he does not want her, that he will send her to boarding school in Switzerland. That night, Eli overheard the children talking. We have to do something. The adults are not winning. Can we make a video? Like YouTube? What if we show everyone what real family looks like? Eli walked away without saying anything. The adults never suspected a thing. They filmed in secret for 5 days. Sophia directed with natural authority. They filmed Eli making pancakes at dawn, Cressida laughing while Miguel taught her video games, Sophia helping with homework, Vivian coming home exhausted, Cressida running to embrace her, the family eating dinner together, full of noise and laughter. Sophia wrote the words that would change everything. People say our family is not normal. Sophia's voice played over footage of Eli cooking. They say a food truck driver should not live in a mansion. They say a CEO cannot be a good mom, but they do not see what we see. Cressida appeared on screen. Before Mr. Cortez came, I could not sleep. I was scared all the time. Now I have a big sister and little brother. This is the first time I feel like I have real family. Miguel grinned at the camera. Cressida is my sister now. Family is who loves you, not who has to. Sophia stood in the garden at sunset. Family is not about blood or money. Family is who shows up when you need them. The video went live at 3 in the morning. By noon, 2 million views. By the following night, 10 million. The internet reversed course completely. Comments flooded in by the thousands. This made me cry at work. Those kids are wiser than most adults. Justice for Vivian. Good Morning America requested interviews. Ellen DeGeneres reposted the video to her millions of followers. Harrison was not accustomed to losing anything. This is obviously staged. She coached those children. We cannot prove that, his lawyer replied nervously. Public opinion has shifted dramatically against us. I do not care about public opinion. I care about winning. He dialed Judge Morrison. We need to talk about next week. The night before the final hearing, Harrison called Vivian. Last chance. Sign the papers. Give me custody. I will stop everything. And if I refuse, then I drag this out for years. Everyone loses. You know what is different now, Harrison? I am not alone anymore. I have people you cannot buy or break. And I have the truth. She hung up. The courtroom was packed with reporters. Harrison arrived immaculate, his legal team ready for battle. Vivian arrived with only her lawyer. Harrison's team painted her as unstable. Witnesses testified, their statements clearly purchased. Then Vivian's lawyer stood. We have new evidence. Security footage showing Mr. Caldwell visiting Rachel Townsend 2 weeks before her death. A screen lowered. The video played. Harrison in Rachel's doorway, his voice captured clearly. If you say one word, I will make sure your mother dies in a charity ward. I will make sure you never work anywhere again. Rachel's trembling voice. Please, I just want to do the right thing. Harrison leaning closer. The right thing is keeping your mouth shut. The video ended. Complete silence filled the courtroom. Harrison stood abruptly. This is fabricated. The judge's gavel came down hard. Sit down. Now. Vivian's lawyer continued calmly. This footage was authenticated by FBI forensics. Mr. Caldwell is currently under federal investigation for money laundering and obstruction of justice. The judge called for a brief recess. When court reconvened, she announced she wished to hear from Cressida directly. The girl walked in alone, 9 years old, trembling visibly, but her chin was lifted. Cressida, you are completely safe here. I want to hear what you want. She looked at her father, then her mother, then the judge. I love my dad. I used to. She paused. But I heard what he said on the phone. He does not want me. He will send me to boarding school where I see mom twice a year. He said this is not about me. It is about hurting mom. Tears streamed down her face. Mr. Cortez is not my real dad, but he makes me bunny quesadillas when I am sad. He asks every single day if I'm okay. Sophia is my big sister. Miguel is my little brother. We are a real family. I want to stay with my mom, with my family, please. Complete silence. Vivian pressed her hand to her mouth, crying openly. Eli held Sophia and Miguel close, all three in tears. The ruling came 30 minutes later. Full custody to Vivian Ashford. Harrison granted only supervised visitation pending federal investigation. 2 FBI agents entered. They approached Harrison. We have questions. Please come with us. As he was led past Vivian, he stopped. This is not over. Cressida appeared in the doorway. Yes, it is. Goodbye, Dad. Then she ran across the courtroom into her mother's arms. 6 months later, a restaurant opened on the Santa Monica Pier. Cortez and Ashford, where every meal is made with love. The logo was designed by 3 children working together. 3 figures holding hands beneath a rising sun. Opening night was completely packed. Eli worked the kitchen. Vivian greeted guests. Sophia led customers to their tables. Miguel and Cressida brought bread baskets. A mother at table 7 asked Sophia if this was the place from the viral video. That is us. The woman's eyes filled with tears. That video saved my marriage. We remembered what mattered. She took Sophia's hand. Thank you. Sophia found her father watching from the kitchen. He smiled with such pride. She smiled back. Some things did not need words. Later that night, Eli and Vivian stood together on the rooftop patio. Moon over the Pacific, waves crashing softly. Inside, 3 children slept peacefully. Thank you, Vivian said, for everything. I just cook. She laughed. You gave my daughter a family. You gave me hope. Eli was quiet for a moment. A year ago, I made my first bunny quesadilla hoping a scared girl would eat. Now it is the signature dish of a restaurant with my name on it. Life is strange. The best things are. So what are we? Business partners? Is that all? She turned to him. In the moonlight, she looked lighter than he had ever seen her. For now, and later. She took his hand gently. Maybe something more. From inside, a voice called out, Dad! Mom! Table 7 wants more bunny quesadillas. Mom? Vivian went completely still. First time anyone except Cressida had called her that. Eli saw tears spring to her eyes. I think they are calling us. She squeezed his hand. Let us go. Our family is waiting. They walked inside together. Harrison Caldwell was convicted 18 months later. Money laundering, obstruction of justice, witness intimidation, 8 years in federal prison. Rachel Townsend's mother received $2 million from the settlement. She established a foundation in her daughter's name to help victims of workplace harassment. Cressida Ashford Cortez thrived in 6th grade with her best friend Sophia, her brother Miguel, and a stepfather who still made bunny quesadillas whenever she felt sad. And in Santa Monica, in a restaurant by the sea, 5 people who found each other in the wreckage of broken lives sat down together every Sunday for dinner. They argued about homework, laughed at bad jokes, made plans for futures none had dared imagine. They were not perfect, not what anyone expected, but they were family. And in the end, that was everything. Family is not about blood or money. Family is who shows up when you need them. Sophia Cortez, age 11.